The Logico Swazi Frontier 2014 is proudly brought to you by Peak Outdoor. Swaziland is a tiny kingdom full of breathtaking scenery nestled between South Africa and Mozambique. Its traditional culture unifies its warm, friendly people. Covered with majestic mountains, lush green forests and deep valleys, this is the ideal place to leave the real world behind, climb on your bike and ride. Competitors arrive at Hawane Resort to the familiar faces of old friends and happy registration crew. Making quick work of the formalities, riders settle in for a relaxing afternoon in the comfortable accommodation. A healthy meal and informative race briefing are good preparation for 3 long days in the saddle with approximately 180 kilometers and a total ascent of over 5,000 meters.
Made it to our first night, looking forward to our first day on the trail.
It'll be a tough day out, but we'll take it easy and see how it goes.
Nee, ik kan niet beter in, hè. Ik kon niet even beter weer gevraagd.
It's nice and cold this morning. Cool, huh? Didn't expect that, but it should burn off and the legs should warm up pretty quickly.
It's my good side, eh?
Yeah.
It's my good side. Should I turn around?
Yeah, we're pretty anxious, but we're looking forward to it. GP, you ready?
All things that take brains will leave up to me, and balls up to him.
Renowned for being the toughest day, an atmosphere of excitement and apprehension fills the air on the start line of day 1. The top teams will be hoping to complete the 60 kilometers in about 4.5 hours. The leading teams skirt along the water's edge at Hawane Dam through the early morning mist and head over the dam wall towards the first gentle climb of the day up a rocky ridge.
So when you enter the Swazi frontier, immediately you've entered a race with a different atmosphere and a different vibe to it, and that starts the moment you leave the city with your passport in your hand and you head to the border. Almost immediately you cross the border, you can sense a different vibe and a different pace of life, and it's you find that you relax very quickly. And suddenly the pace of life slows down a little bit. The ride is different because the trails aren't manicured. The paths that we ride on are cattle tracks and animal tracks, and they're footpaths made by local people walking from their homesteads to wherever they may work.
The 60 kilometers of day 1 takes the riders through the mountainous Balolocha Nature Reserve towards the finish at Bulembu Country Lodge. The route involves a total ascent of around 1,800 meters, making this the toughest day.
I thought the route was absolutely great. I mean, you never let down by the route in this race. I've done 3 of them. This is my 3rd one now. And I did get lost. I'm not used to being at the front of the field, so we were trying to navigate and race a little bit to start. And we lost about 5 minutes early on. And it took us basically the rest of the race to catch it up pretty much. It's nice to have changes. I think that the kind of navigation element of this race makes it different from the other cycle races. You can't really just race it, you actually got to navigate it as well.
We've tried to keep it true to our roots, and we didn't really want to change too much and get over commercialized and lose the personality that we've tried to create. So in doing so, we didn't want to lose the navigational element, the small size of the field. This year we've had an exceptionally good rapport and vibe amongst all the cyclists, and that's what we really have thoroughly enjoyed.
Early teams were lucky enough to spot some game in this pristine mountain wilderness, which is home to a variety of wildlife. Riders move quickly through the picnic site and on towards the technical descent of Chomoloti, picking and punching their lines very carefully.
The Swazi frontier, due to the nature of the event and the navigational element, we don't really attract the top professional riders, people that are out there just for a result. We're really looking at experienced riders, looking for something different, people who have maybe done many events and are looking for something quite different, maybe a bit more challenging, a little bit further off the beaten track, and people that are really here for a ride with a racing element and a different dynamic. So I think we're putting something together that is quite different from what has been offered at the moment by other event organizers.
I really enjoy Swazi Frontier. It's one of the races that I think I would love to do all editions. Yeah. Anyone out there who hasn't been to Swaziland, Swaziland, I've found this country to be more exciting for me. It's full of everything. There's nothing which feels good like being in a country and feeling free to be there, You can go here, cycle in the mountains, see the beautiful scenery and see other people's vegetations out there. It's quite interesting. So I really appreciate being born in Swaziland. I'm a Swazi. I think I'll die a Swazi.
Swaziland's got some really rural areas, and what's nice about the race, between the sponsors and the organizers, they do a lot of work for the communities. Every year there's a target or a school or something that gets upgraded. All adds value to the communities that we cycle through. The little smiles on the kids' faces, the happiness that you see in the kids out in the rural areas, you don't see it in many African countries.
Yeah, what's nice about coming back to Swaziland is that it's quite relaxed, but the material you've got in terms of setting up a race, in terms of the mountains and the cattle paths and the rivers and the unfenced areas and clean water is just magnificent. So if you compare that back to where we train at home, it's just refreshing to have that. And there's stuff that, the hills are steeper, they're longer, the technical stuff is rockier and more difficult, so it's good to stretch us, and that's what's magnificent about this place. And if you're great, you go faster. If you're not so good, you slow it up a bit, so it meets everyone's needs, which is really fantastic.
After a challenging climb up the infamous Goko, teams are rewarded at the top by breathtaking views and a thrilling switchback descent down Hinan staircase, testing cornering and descending skills against the rugged footpaths. Teams enter the tunnel of Brown Crocodile and enjoy the cool shade and river crossings.
Every day I've sort of uploaded some stuff onto Strava, and all our mates back in South Africa, they like make these comments about the times and geez, we're slow, and I don't think they have an idea of where we're riding and the terrain, and I think the navigation brings an amazing thing to the race. I mean, you want to go fast, but you need to still see where you're going and when's the next turn, and but the race is amazing. If you like mountain biking and this amazing terrain, I mean, you've got to do this. I want to go back and get more guys to come and do this race.
Definitely a mountain bike race for mountain bikers. You can't ask for better trails. The scenery is amazing. The guys we're riding with, they're all just so supportive of the climbing, the descents, and you're too brutal here. Lived up to his name today.
It was fun. It's hard. My legs are tired, but it's so beautiful down in the valley. The single tracks are just amazing, and the descent was awesome. So we had a good day out there.
Creating some employment on the mountain here.
Aibo.
Local Swazi riders Sfiso Mhlanga and Sihau Dlamini maintain their lead gained on the climb up Too Brutal and roll into Bulembu Country Lodge as the winners of day one, with James Pittman and A.D. Enthoven taking second place.
It was climbing, but we enjoyed it, and we enjoyed the lactic acid we had in our muscles. Anyway, it was fine. Waiting for tomorrow, and we are tired, really tired.
The village of Bulembu developed as a mining town in the 1930s. When the mine closed in 2001, it was abandoned, leaving many Swazis jobless. Bulembu Ministries has revived this ghost town by creating renewable businesses in timber, dairy, water and honey, as well as running an orphanage. Back at Bulembu Lodge, riders chill out in the warm afternoon sun, enjoy a beer and swap war stories as their bikes are washed and fine-tuned by the mechanics for another day of racing.
It's been rain here every day, and I'm still picking up the pieces. You're slowing down the progress, and all my thoughts are
A soft drizzle sets up perfect riding temperatures as riders look forward to day two and its promise of a multitude of river crossings, fast-flowing downhills and endless footpaths.
It still rains here every day. Taking off in a piece of my heart. Now you're sleeping miles away.
An exhilarating fast-rolling 25-kilometer descent drops the riders into the mystical and remote Mganda Valley. The footpaths wind their way amongst the homesteads towards Poponyana Nature Reserve and on to the finish at Peaks Peak Hotel.
One of those places that is just in your bones. It's familiar, it's home. Even for people that don't come from Swaziland, it feels like home. It's friendly, relaxed, safe. There's, you walk down the street and even if you've never met the person you see coming towards you before, they always say hello. There's always a smile and there's always, a little conversation and a greeting. There aren't many places in the world like that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, every day you ride through, as you say, through their back gardens and that sort of thing, and I mean, they're cheering you on and they want to push you, and I don't think we had any place we didn't go through where they weren't happy to see you and they're cheering for Logico. I mean, today in particular, I think the Swazi people are a bunch of good acts. So we've seen it. Everyone who meets you from here as well has been great.
the reason why you have to have a partner, you have to learn to look after your partner. You have to enjoy the company and work on your mechanical issues together. So, which means in a way this race also promoted that kind of spirit that you wouldn't get in any race, you know. So let alone the route which is unmarked, which also tempers with your mental ability. No matter how tired you are, but you still have to read some directions and get to the destination.
No, I think the navigation is a key part of the race. There's a whole lot of ways you can approach it. You can be completely clinical, follow your GPS and the exact markers, or you can literally read the card and kind of get a feel for where the distances are and just keep your wits about you, and you generally are as successful whichever method you choose. So we did a bit of both, and then we did a bit of nothing, and that's where we came unstuck. So, you know, that's we got to take the punches as we receive them.
The preparation for a race like ours, or any multi-day race, really is year round, and the scouting, the community relationship developing, it's all a slow process. Some of the areas where we're riding is incredibly remote. It may take us 2 to 3 hours just to get to that place. Now you've got to spend a good amount of time with a team of chaps just cleaning it, cutting open new sections, and it's a big effort, but it's a lot of fun. The areas, some of the valleys are very remote. You can't really get there on a quad. Some areas it's difficult getting there on a bicycle, and let alone a 4x4 or a proper emergency vehicle. It adds to a bit of the appeal of the event that you're going into places that are very off the beaten track, but it is quite remote.
At the front of the field, it is still the local pairs Fiso and Sihau, locked in a determined battle with veterans James and Adi as they dice down tricky drops at steps and on towards the popper.
There are some very steep uphills and there's some very technical downhills, which also an element which doesn't exist in the other cycle race.
You know, it's just the ethos of the race. Everyone helps each other. We blew a tire this morning. Everyone stops to ask you how you are, lend you a bomb, that kind of thing. And so that's quite nice. And, you know, people felt for the guys that wiped and had to be extracted yesterday. So everyone helps each other. And I think it takes the edge off the race element to it. So everyone wants to do well and everyone wants to have a good time. But when it comes to helping people, that's when the clock stops. So it's an awesome part of the vibe on the race as well.
The Swazi youngsters have paced themselves brilliantly as they power their way up the final section of the popper and over the finish line at Peaks Peak.
You know, this is our 6th year as the title sponsor for the Logico Swazi Frontier. It's been a massive part of helping grow our business. The marketing that has come from this race has been awesome. The relationship between Brett and Leslie and the actual race and Logico has been fantastic. It's really been a great experience being part of the Swazi Frontier for 6 years, not only in the organizing of the race but participating. All of the directors of Logico have been involved in one way or another, and the Logico team that has been involved with the race themselves, they've also thoroughly enjoyed it. Their interaction has been great, and from a marketing and social perspective for Logico, this race has done absolute wonders for our company and also what they do for Swaziland. You know, I think they market Swaziland very well, and we're so chuffed to be part of that. It's really been great for us.
We're very fortunate that we've got some nice accommodation along our race route. So generally riders stay in an assortment of chalets, lodges, some dorms, some backpackers, and on day 2, at the end of day 2, they stay in a hotel. We do have some camping on day 0 only, but it is possible to upgrade and stay in a chalet. All the venues produce an awesome spread of food. There's no shortage of food, and all wholesome, good, nutritious stuff.
The final day brings cool and misty conditions, and riders quickly settle into a steady rhythm, easing into the day with a short climb through riverine bush under the sheltered forest canopy. They weave their way down the footpath at Coral, which flows through towards Tommy's. Some focus is required as riders pick their lines carefully down into the valley. The 60 kilometers on day 3 involve some steep technical descents and fast-flowing single tracks as the riders make their way down to the Komati River crossing at the Gap and along the river to Makuka Dam Wall. From here, it is one final push to the finish line at Makuka Lodge.
As part of the vision of the Swazi frontier, we want to involve ourselves with the upliftment and development of cycling in Swaziland. At the moment, we've got 3 young guys on our sponsorship contract, and we're really excited this year that Sifiso and Sihawu managed to race with some of the more experienced, sharper veteran cyclists in the frontier this year, and hang with them throughout the race and have the ability and the composure to realize where their strengths are. And we were completely impressed and surprised and excited by their progress and their effort.
Welcome to the water point!
The water point is at the Wattle and Daub Sokula Preschool Care Point. Sibaka dancers show off their skills and relished in the attention from the audience. The Logico Swazi frontier will commence building a kitchen and storeroom at this site soon after this year's race as part of its social footprint. Amidst the beautiful views of yet another spectacular valley, riders tune in and pick their lines down the flowing descent of Shisamanzi. The 800-meter drop from the Highveld to the Komati River basin brings a major change in vegetation thanks to the warmer low-veld climate. A geological phenomenon reduces the Komati River to the width of a 1-meter wide tunnel in a black rock seam known as the Gap. The riders cross below the Gap on a rustic swing bridge used by the local community. Crossing the steel bridge at the weir below Makuka Dam, riders know that there is one last hill before crossing the finish line at Makuka Lodge. Overall results for the Logico Swazi frontier see the local riders Sfiso and Sihawu finish on top of day 3 and claim the overall title with an impressive victory over the experienced crew of James Pittman and A.D. Enthoven. The ladies team of Landi Pudu and Rebecca Stamp claimed victory in the mixed category. With their second place result overall, it is James and Adrian who also claimed victory in the Mkulu section. Sean Williamson and Rod Bernard topped the podium in the over 180 kilogram buffalo category.
Hey, I tell you what, that's the best ever. The best ever Swazi Frontier. Fantastic.
The Logico Swazi Frontier was proudly brought to you by Peak Outdoor.